Covered calls are a great way to generate some passive income. However, in order to be able to sell your own covered calls, you need to own at least 100 shares of a company in order to do so. This is because one contract equals 100 shares. So if you have 70 shares of a company, you can't sell a contract, you can't sell covered calls. There are covered call ETFs like JEPI, which has been around since 2020, and they sell covered calls on a variety of individual stocks. And QYLD has been around since 2015, and they do the same. They sell against the NASDAQ 100. And then you have something like Yieldmax, which runs a variety of covered call ETFs, but they only sell covered calls on one company. This one is Coney or Coinbase. This one is TSLY or Tesla covered calls. And because a lot of these stocks like Tesla and Coinbase are extremely volatile, they can generate a lot of passive income through selling premiums on their covered calls. Tesla, 96% dividend. Wow. But if it seems too good to be true, let's take a look. By the way, you can see that they also have very high fees. And remember, the more volatile a stock is, like Tesla, the higher premiums they can charge for these covered calls. But if the once volatile stock starts to drop in price, some investors might say, well, I'm not going to buy a call, I'll just buy the stock, it's cheaper. And the price per share of the ETF could also lose value as people cut their losses and move money out. This is an example of TSLY's monthly dividend. First, it was 90 cents, then it was 82 cents, then it was 44 cents, then it skyrockets up to 80 cents again, then $1.07, wow, then it drops all the way to 83 cents, then it drops to 58 cents, then it drops to 57 cents, and 58 cents, 60 cents, and 55 cents. So not only is the dividend getting smaller, but the stock price also declines. It's like a 1-2 punch. My biggest concern with covered call ETFs that focus on one stock only is if something negative happens to that stock, like Tesla or Coinbase, where it loses a lot of value, then your premiums will decrease and the price per share of the ETF will also decrease. I know to a new investor who's looking at high quality dividend companies like Coca-Cola or McDonald's, see a percentage yield of 2 or 3% and they go, are you kidding me? Why would I do that when I could go into one of these and make 90%? So then there's a lot of hysteria on Wall Street about this company that's extremely volatile and it's going up and up and up, and they launch an ETF and the dividend looks amazing and the fund goes up and the dividend goes up and everyone's very excited and they're making money until the volatility ends on that one particular company, and then the dividend drops and the price per share drops and everyone's panicking, and then they say, well, what's the next really volatile stock? Oh, it's Nvidia. And then Yieldmax rushes out to make one for Nvidia, and it's up. And the dividend is really, really high. And the stock skyrockets in price. And everyone's losing their mind because the dividend is really, really high. Until the momentum slows down, which it did for Tesla, and it did for Coinbase, and it might for Nvidia. And then the premiums for the dividends decrease, and then NVDY decreases, and people are sitting on a loss. Now, all this being said, I like covered calls because they can help generate a little bit of extra income. I prefer covered call ETFs like these. Even though some of these funds like JEPI or JEPQ or SPYI or QYLD are a little bit more diversified, they're less volatile and a little more consistent. And because the shares keep getting called away, it won't perform like an index fund, which is fine. It's different. And some covered call ETFs even have a hybrid approach where they invest, buy, and hold a portion, and they sell covered calls on another portion. So you get the benefit of the markets going up and the premiums. Now, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to share one of my investments with you. I happen to own TSLY. Now, when I first bought TSLY, I went, oof, that's kind of a high dividend. I'm a little bit weary of this. So I didn't reinvest my dividends. After all, I knew that once the Tesla volatility cooled off, TSLY would lose value, and I didn't want to be adding that good dividend into an asset that was decreasing. So I opted to not reinvest the TSLY dividends. Instead, I said, you know what? I'm only putting in what I'm willing to lose, number one. And number two, don't reinvest the dividends. Just give me the cash. And then I can use that cash to buy higher quality investments like SCHD or Realty Income or an S&P 500 index fund. What you do with the money is your choice. That's just what I did. Let me show you. This is every dividend I have received from TSLY since I bought it. You can see them right over here. And you can see that that dividend is not consistent. It changes every month as Tesla is more volatile or less volatile. but nothing was reinvested. I just got the dividend as cash. Remember, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. But I'm not against covered calls. I just want you to understand all of the risks involved, especially for the ones that sell covered calls only against one position.